Hi, welcome to another episode of TFT Hyperroll from Mission for Tuition. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. This channel is called Mission for Tuition because we are trying to raise money for our son's middle and high school education. He needs to go to a special school. It's frightfully expensive, and we make all of the money from this channel via the views, not from donations, nothing like that. Just the views. So if you like the content or if you like the cause, please do the stuff to help the algorithm. And with that said, let's get started. So this game started off a little non-committal, giving me 3-1 costs out of that first globe, but it did, once the shop came up, hand me a 2-star Callista. So I at least had something to base my future on in this match. By the time the NPC round was over, I really had no clue what I was doing. At this point, I am just picking up any 2-star that I can in the hopes of putting something together. I kind of flip-flop here between, do I enact the Legionnaire buff, or would it be better to put out the 2-star Vladimir to be in the front line and make room for Callista? I ultimately decide to go with the 3 2-star characters, even though there's absolutely no synergy between them at all, but I'd like to win if possible. Losing early is not devastating, it's only 2 health, but if you can keep winning, that's good. Remember, in Hyperroll, there is absolutely no interest to earn, so you're better off to just keep winning. And lacking getting any other 2-star champs, we're just going to stick with this front line for now, and this complete disparity because, well, at least it's working. Vladimir and Udyr are able to hold them off, and Callista is doing enough damage. And rather than force you to watch a couple of fights that just have the same result, let me skip you forward to when something actually matters. As we get into the first NPC round, I'm able to bring it up to 4 Legionnaires. Now, I'm still running that Vladimir, so I'm having him hold the front line because one of the weaknesses of Legionnaires is the front line, but at least at this point with the 4 Legionnaire buff, I have a good chance. I get to choose my first Radiant item, and it's going to be the Blessed Bloodthirster because that's probably the best out of that group. I give Callista the Last Whisperer so she can do lots of damage on people's armor, which is great when you're running Legionnaire because your goal is to get through the other team as quickly as possible. I give Actrox the Sunfire Cape so he can add some burn, but these Legionnaire teams are pretty weak early, especially in the frontline department, and can easily be taken out once that frontline falls. I go through the NPC round and get the chance to get a YASUO and a Lee Sin, so I say goodbye to my Vladimir and hello to Lee Sin, who will make a better Nightbringer for the frontline. I've also picked up a recursive bow, which is going to be key for Callista, because with that Last Whisperer, I want her reducing as much armor as possible on the opposing team, and she'll be hitting more targets this way. Even though it's at a reduced damage, if it crits, it will still shred their armor. The real key with Legionnaire is take them down quickly. You do not want sustained fights. You are not likely to win them. Even though there is some lifesteal built into Legionnaire, it's not enough to keep you alive. You need their armor shredded and YASUO doing true damage so that they go down quickly. The longer the fight lasts, the less likely you are to win. This next fight has a really interesting thing going on here. That YASUO has, well, sort of mostly the wrong items because they don't quite work for him. But for some reason, it does really well. I'm suspect at this point that that's just an item holder for a Karma, since the rest of the team seems to be Dawnbringer, but it was pretty effective getting through me. The NPC round was pretty friendly to us, and we get a really good item shop here with lots of choices to make. The key is which way is the best to go, because I ultimately need to shift things up here. I take everything off Callista because my goal, as I said before, is to shred as much armor as possible. So you want to pair the Last Whisperer with the Infinity Edge and the Runan's Hurricane. That means every target that Callista hits is guaranteed to lose a large percentage of their armor, making it much easier for the rest of my team to get through. but I'm still missing one key Legionnaire. I need to get to that 6th in order to really take advantage of the buff. That's when the speed really starts to matter. Again, long fights are not your friend with Legionnaire. Luckily here, with the shredded armor, we're able to get through. And it's now 7-3 and time to choose our second radiant item. It's the Glamorous Gauntlet, because that is going to go right onto YASUO and make his attacks even more powerful. We grab a Nidalee because she will give us Skirmisher and also Dawnbringer, so she will be a good addition as we continue to look for that 6th Legionnaire. This team was relying on their Vladimir to do a lot of damage, but Callista is able to just tear him apart, and once YASUO gets into their backline with all of those items, it's an easy win. I go through the NPC round and get a Rabadon's Death Cap that I just put on Lee Sin, but my problem is I'm rolling everything I can and I'm not getting that 6th Legionnaire, which is just forcing me to have a second Callista out there. With that incredibly buffed Lucian, I don't have a chance. But a quick call over to my friend at Riot and I get myself a gold Callista and a Golden Globe of Happiness, which has some money in it and an additional sword, which I really don't have anything I need it for. And yes, Lizzie, I hear you, I'm too lucky, but that's what it helps when you have friends in high places. They'll take care of you too, don't worry about it. But at this point, I now got my Draven and I'm up to the 6 Legionnaires, so I'm going to be attacking that much faster, and it's going to be key. This is the team that had that YASUO that was the item holder before, and they've now moved the items over to Karma where they're going to be absolutely most effective. But Callista's quick attacking is shredding their front line, which is enabling me to actually stay alive and get the jump on them and ultimately finish them off. And with that, we are into the top 4 and getting ready to hopefully go forward. Grab Galio as a good tank option for the front line. Remember, the difficulty in Legionnaire is your front line. After the NPC round, I'm left with a kind of tricky choice. Do I want to dump my Skirmisher buff and change it for the Knight? I ultimately decide yes, because having the Knight buff is going to improve that front line even more, and Garen is also just a super strong unit. And with the chance to get a Kayle at 6 Legionnaire, I'm willing to make that trade for the Draven. I can give the Kayle the static Shiv, and for some reason I ended up putting the sword on the Garen on the bench instead of on the one in the field, but he's not really there to get that extra attack. He is there to give the Knight buff to the entire team so they can block a little bit of damage and also hold the team in place a little bit longer so that longer fights are not quite as deadly. We're able to get through this one, but again, it's thanks to it being a fairly quick fight. So with the use of some Teemos and some rolling, I'm able to 2-star my Garen, and I'm feeling like I'm in a really good spot. This person keeps peeking in on my comp, as you can see them appear right there, and I'm just moving things around, but I think I might have a really good chance. They are using a lot of tanky characters, but that Callista with that Runin's Hurricane is going to be able to shred them, and they don't have anything that's capable of jumping into the backline to get to her. The most dangerous thing about their comp is the Lucian, but that YASUO with 2 Radiant items is able to keep it under control, but it's Callista bringing it home with the most damage. It's now down to the sudden death winner take all. I look in on their comp just to see that they really haven't moved things around. I don't know if they could come up with an answer for this because they don't have a good method of getting towards Callista. But I'm going to make sure to keep my front line to keep her safe and think that they can't get to her. Meanwhile, they've moved everything all the way over to the left, which is incredibly dangerous because Lucian is going to be able to fire all the way across through my front line and potentially get to my Callista. It's a question of whether she can get through them fast enough, and the answer is yes, she can, and does, and wins the match for me. Legionnaire is a really fun comp to play, but you need that last Whisperer and an Infinity Edge to shred armor. Hope you enjoyed the video and have an absolutely awesome day.